Time many times we can't get out of our own way as business owners, as entrepreneurs, even in our personal life. A lot of people focus on business, which is definitely a part of us, but I think it's a decision that gets made when people push away opportunity for growth, not because they don't want to grow. I think sometimes people think it's a mindset. It really isn't.
I think growth itself, you're 100% right, Char. Growth is a decision that you make, but that decision is influenced by stories we've told ourselves along the way, or by an absence of, I want to say, like an absence of resources to show you that you're limiting. You have a limiting belief. Here's an example, right? When we have somebody who is, first time in business, they don't know all the things they can do. So a lot of times they learn by experience, or they go to a class, or they have a business partner, and then they're able to do things they didn't think they could do. But it's because
Right.
of that access to all of that information that they can achieve the results. But the decision was, I'm going to make it. I'm getting in business to do something. I'm making that decision that I want to grow. And then I'll find the tools, resources, and different levies to get me there. And so it does start with a decision. But I do believe that some people, the reason they never get into business is because of that mindset. And so that to me is how I would approach this. And it does require you as an individual to kind of say, I have objectives, I have goals, I have things I want to achieve in my life. How do I want to achieve those? These are my money options. I'm going to decide that this is the one I'm going to take. But you do have to come to terms with, I want to be successful. I want to be ambitious. I want to take a step in a direction, and making that decision first before you start saying, oh, it's too hard. I can't do it. It's beating me down, or I don't really want a big empire. Nobody, nobody says I don't want a big empire if they haven't been told a story or conditioned in a certain way. And that conditioning comes from probably a lack of resources, a lack of community, a lack of partnership. And so you just have to make a little bit of a shift to overcome that and get back in gear.
Wow, I love that. And guys, your habits will show, what your biggest intent is, what your biggest goal is. And so when you think about this decision you're making, right, if you are looking to replace yourself in your business, then your decisions you would be making would be along that same line. Your SOPs would happen, your processes would happen. You would remove the stigma of this idea that you can't delegate. I mean, it's mindset to make the decision, but growth and the activity and the habits we do, Ty, are all tied in. They're a mirror of each other.
They are. They are. And no one is to blame for it. Like, you are conditioned. You grew up over the course of X number of years with a relationship with money, a relationship with business, a relationship with entrepreneurship, a relationship with growth. And sometimes that relationship isn't always positive, right? When you hear people use language like, I can't afford this, or it's too expensive, these are these are statements that we're making based on the conditioning that we have, and impact how we perceive money, or how we perceive different things. And there's a lot of mindset coaches that talk about manifesting abundance and manifesting money, and living in a state of abundance. Those things are all great, but the reality is that those things are trying to trans transit to convert your existing relationship with money and with your perception of money, so that you can get into that space. And before any of that can happen, you have to decide it's the thing you want to do. You have to make a decision that not only it's the thing you want to do, but is the thing you're going to commit to get to the objective or outcome that you want.
Exactly. And many times, guys, that decision and those habits that come is not going to be perfect in the first motion. It has to happen over time. It has to happen what we call compound strategy building in your business, both on your money, both in your personal development, both in your sales opportunities and marketing opportunities. It literally can happen though when you make that decision.
Yeah, you can't wipe out, decades of conditioning in 2 or 3 weeks or months or even years. You have been going through this for, since childhood, in terms of how statements are made, how money is viewed, how, your approach to different things. And so now that pivot's going to take, like Shar said, conditioning. It's going to take a lot more practice. It's going to take micro steps. We had a speaker at CoachCon, who talked about, small wins, small upgrades to your life, that show you that it is possible for the bigger ones to come later on. And by taking these incremental steps, you see, again, it's like eating. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. These incremental steps help you see what a long-term reality could look like if you stay committed to it. again, the decision is, do I want to be successful? Do I want to grow? That growth can be small or it can be monumentous if you decide. If it's monumentous, obviously you can achieve it overnight. You do have to start small and increase over there. But even if you just want a small amount of growth over a big period of time, you just have to start and go one step at a time.
Wow, I love that. Ty, best place for them to connect with us is on oneglobalfinancing.com, because growth is a decision that you'll make today about your business. It's not a decision that impacts today. It's the 3 month, 6 month, 9 month when you say, I hope I coulda, shoulda, woulda. And this is where that decision is made today. Having that conversation. And Ty, what does that conversation look like with you?
The conversation starts, well, what do you want to be in 5 years? And then where do you want to be at the end of this year? And then what does it take in an incremental, in quarterly or monthly to get there? I want to have, a reserve of $100,000. Great. What does that mean? That means we have to start making sure that every month we bank $5,000. And that $5,000 we build incrementally. Now, if 1 month we don't make it to five, the next month we have to put more than five. So we just make sure that this small amount of milestones get us to the final destination that we're looking for. Everything is possible. You just have to commit to it with a plan. One of the things I do is I make a plan every year that has financials, it has my personal life, it has my friend's life, my love life, everything's there, and it's all written down, because what gets documented gets done, right? It used to be what gets measured, but you've got to document it as well. And so for me, it's making sure that you have the incremental steps of the short-term goal to the long-term goal and to the medium-term goal.
Oh, I love that. Thanks again, Ty. Every single week, guys, we want to help you make these decisions because they're the best ones for you. And at the right time and the right lever that you pull, do it with people who are doing it. We're living it, we're breathing it, we're doing it, we're making it happen. Thanks so much, Ty.
Thanks, Char.